It says we're live.
Technology is such a party.
This is crazy. Yeah, I want to see if I see it on.
Yeah, I don't see it
Yeah,
on your profile yet.
I. It said it was live, and so it should be coming up. I'm gonna give it a little bit more time.
There we are.
You see it?
Yay. Yep. I'm gonna share us so
Yes,
people
yes,
can
yes, yes. We are live.
play.
Okay.
And while I share us and people can
Yes,
play,
yes.
um, I wanted to talk about this
Hmm.
with as little access lingo as possible.
Yes,
Um, because I know that my people
yes.
are gonna be like, what is this reality that he's talking about?
Yeah, yeah. So, so,
So,
so, and for people who don't know what that is, people just watching, access is uh, uh, I think it's a way of being that I belong to. It's called access consciousness. Um, and if I do use it, I will only use one thing, and I probably won't use it as clearing AI. You know something? I'm not. You're gonna have to come and join on Saturday to find out a little bit more about access.
yeah,
Well, we're gonna talk about how I'm gonna share how I came up with this and what
yeah,
happened to me. That's the
yeah,
most important piece. Okay, let me do this. Dismiss that. Okay, sorry, people. So, uh, I was having conversations. I've been having conversations with my sister Lila for like forever recently. I um I've just been this is like this woman, if you get a chance to ever work with her, she is a godsend, if I should say. Um and I was sharing with her that I had this idea. I was give some history to it. Plantation Living is what I like titled this morning. I have a class that's coming. Is it now time for you to choose outside the plantation of this reality? My title, I know I didn't get the title right, but oh well. And I chose that because I realize that we're sometimes living on a plantation, and it's not a plantation just for Black folks. This is a plantation that a lot of people don't realize they're on. I had the pleasure about maybe 3 to 4 years ago going down to New Orleans, and I took a tour with my wife on a plantation in Louisiana, and it was traumatic. It was extremely traumatic for me because what's up, Mr. Johnson? I see him on there, but uh, yeah, it's the Matrix. You're right. It's the plantation living is like what. So let me give you the history. So I went there, and as we're driving in this van to get there, my body started to do some crazy stuff energetically. I started to feel like the history, and it wasn't like a history. Feel like it was present. We pulled up, and they had this little store, and they changed the entire aspect of what this was.
mm,
And we walked around, and I have this capacity to be able to pick up energies. Some people call them entities, spirits, whatever you want to call it. I have that. And it was this gnawing feeling. And then I went to these trees, and I have this connection to trees. And I was just like, I felt a calmness, but also the trees started to send energy about what happened, like telling a story. So we went into there and we had a tour of this, and it made it sound all like American history, like, oh my God, let's sing Kumbaya.
yeah,
And what I realized is that it was actually taking people or introducing people to what they were living in. It looked elaborate. They showed the kitchen and how everything was beautiful and the beautiful paintings on the wall. And I was just like, oh my God, this must have been nice for the people who actually were not slaves.
mm,
And then it hit me. I went to a bedroom and I could feel the terror within one of the people who were not, who was one of the slave owners or a visitor or something. And I was like, oh my God, it's traumatic for this person. And they don't know what it is. They're
yeah,
living in this elaborate room with this brass and all this beautiful windows and this view you can see. But what's happening is that they're on a plantation.
mm-hmm,
So then I went in a couple of days ago and I looked up the word plantation. And with Winnepeak, I like how things shifted so that it's almost like not allowing you to really look into it. So you go through a whole paragraph, and the first paragraph talking about a place where tobacco and all this like farming and all this, and at the very bottom they leave this sentence about not even call it really slavery.
Mm.
And I was like, wow.
Let's
Now,
colonize watch that, shall we?
yeah, yes, yes. And what I said is that how interesting this was. And so then I start playing this story back because I have the plans of retiring. And I started to realize I've been working for the county, Multnomah County, as a juvenile probation officer for 31 years. And I was like, oh my God, I'm living on a plantation. I was like, what the fuck? I have all the things. I have nice insurance. I have retirement coming out of it. I have a nice office. I have a lunch break. I have 5 weeks vacation. And I'm like, oh my God.
Okay. In the grand scheme of plantations in
Yes.
America, 5 weeks vacay is not.
Yes. Yes. And I have all the federal holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I can park my car in a secured lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm living in a fucking gilded cage.
Mm-hmm.
In a system that when I in 1990, when I was going to go in there and I wanted to change the world. I went in there to help I went in there in the beginning I wanted Black boys specifically to be able to have the experience that my mom and dad gave me. So I figured I was going to go in. Now, being who I am, I did.
Yeah.
Yesterday, a couple of people hit me up and said, because I had this poo-poo story, because I'm going to tell this too, that I was like, I don't know how good I have been or did I really mission accomplish. But the most important piece is that I have the recognition that I was living plantation living in a gilded cage. And I had inklings of desiring to leave, but I was just like the comfort.
Mm.
You know, my credit score is great.
Mm-hmm.
All of the dangling things in the cage, and I got this from my brother. This when I call the gilded cage. My brother Carlos Wyndham gave me this idea with this, and I know he told me he got it from some places. But this gilded cage is beautiful inside that cage,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still in a fucking cage.
Yeah.
So I started to make my way of trying to get to the door, finding the door to get the hell out of this gilded cage, this plantation.
Yeah.
And what happened is things started to show up to entice me or challenge me in stepping off the plantation. And I'm not, and what I'm saying is this, the most important piece about it is having the awareness of something. Because once you have the awareness of something, you can change it. So I start playing with this, and it hit me that there's something in here to explore for myself that I want to share with others. So I decided to come up with a class that's going to happen this Saturday from 10 to noon. It's going to be, if you have to go to www.wbeingjohnashford.com, you can sign up for the class. And what I'm going to share is more elaborate stories, and I actually ask people to share their stories of what it's like if you get to the brink of something, you're ready to go. What is your gilded cage? What is your plantation living? And there's some tools that I'm going to share that will allow you to start to break down the door, to kick in the door, to burn down the house, to burn down the plantation.
Yeah.
To choose something, because here's the piece. The real piece about it is you never fucking want to stay there and say you're going to change it, because it's a fucking gilded cage plantation. So when we were back in Louisiana, we rode over to this other plantation, and I've come to find that one of the plantations didn't close until the 70s, 1970s. Not 1870, but 1970. And what I realized is my brother, Mr. Johnson, shared is that it's almost the matrix. And that matrix hasn't changed from the day those plantations opened or closed to today.
No.
And we're going to explore this because the plantation living has all the people on the planet right now at odds with each other. And I want you to sit with this for a second. On planet Earth, we're at odds with each other because of fear, because this thing called a vaccine, to take it or not take it. Now, I'm not here and I will not, this class won't be to beat up anybody on their choice. I'm not
Yeah.
about that. But I want to explore the possibilities of how do we get outside of that and how do we get outside of our own gilded cage of plantation living. If the fucking door was unlocked and wide open, most of us, because we live within the matrix of this, would never step through the doorway.
Yeah.
We would
Why
never
is
step through
that?
the doorway. We would, because we are, some of us. So here's the piece that I was thinking about on the plantation. So we went to the second plantation. I was looking at the numbers. I asked questions. So I was the only African American in this tour. And the first thing that hit me was the movie Django. And there's a scene in Django, and I'm going to talk more about this in the class on Saturday, where Django comes in and they're in this room, and these two African Americans are fighting each other, and the white people are sitting around. And from the moment of that day that I saw that, I pretty much stopped watching NFL
Mm.
because I was like, once again, the matrix has not fucking changed. And think about it, even to the point that we don't even know we're inside it because we can watch that and think we're participating in it, but we don't realize what's actually really going on. And that's plantation living. You get so comfortable that you don't know that you're in or on a plantation.
Yeah.
And you're being affected because it's kind of like Never Never Land. You know, it's you ask questions, is this real or is this not real? Am I having this experience? Because the trick of the plantation, and here's the piece. I'm not going to tell you this, but you're going to have to come to the class to find out who's actually building and constructing that plantation.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because the
go ahead.
conditioning of it is one thing. And that's what my brother, Mr. Johnson, is saying on here. But the question I ask is that when do you start to ask the question? When do you start to have ask the question about what is this? And that's
Yeah.
going to be one of the tools that I want to talk about because this plantation living you can break out of plantation living. You can do it. You have to be willing to do a couple things. I'm going to try to pull you in on this one, okay? You have to be willing to do a couple things. And one of those couple things is being in awareness.
Okay. So, for those of us who don't speak access,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're going to go into this on Saturday, then tell me that and that's fine. But
Yeah.
like, what even is being in awareness? Like, what does that mean?
So I'll share this with people. I am a person who loved marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
loved it. Once again, there's no ding on anybody. Whatever you take, if you take it responsibly, that's on you. But I'm gonna go back here. So years ago, I practiced Ifa,
Mm-hmm.
and Chief Baba gave me. I had a reading, and he said, "Oh, I can." My name in Ifa is Akintola, Akintola. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see it at the top sometime. So uh, he said, Akintola. We did a reading, and you have a couple of taboos. One of the taboos you have is not to smoke weed or have alcohol. And when I got it, I was like, shit. I was like, dude, oh, dude, you tripping. Okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm not gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until recently where I started to be aware that it is a medicine as such, but I was using it so that I didn't have to be present with this reality. So it was taking me away from what was really gone. So I'm going to put some, like, here's the piece. Some of us get a bellyache and we go and just run the store and we get Pepto-Bismol, but we never ask our body or our stomach what created that. So we'll go back and buy another jar of Pepto-Bismol and drink that shit, not being in awareness of what your body is really trying to tell you. I don't like this. It's discomfort. I'm going to let you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's my analogy of awareness and being aware.
I love it.
90% of the things that we allow to bother us is a lack of awareness.
I'm laughing at Maureen's mind blown
Yes.
emoji in the comments.
Yes. So, uh, I mean, that is one of the pieces for me that I wanted to share with people more of my story on how I got there and what's going on in my world right now, and not the the possibility that's being shared with me from the universe. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this to people because I don't, even when people come out there, I'm gonna use this. So Plantation Living is set up that in the plantation, I'm gonna use just you and I. In Louisiana, they had rules that I wouldn't associate with Lila because of her skin color, and I'm
Oh,
being a
yeah.
little lighter. Okay.
So much darker than a paper bag, let me tell
Yes.
you.
Yes. Those are tools of separation. Give you an example. Vaxxed, not vaxxed. It hasn't changed, y'all.
Right.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
The game has just changed.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this to you all. Some of y'all, I'm gonna explain this one to you. Pimping ain't easy. What I mean by that, my brother said about Will said something about uh, Matrix and gaslighting. To get a prostitute to go out and sell her body, sleep with nasty ass people, take a chance of going to jail, getting beat up or murdered, and bringing the money back to the person is the extreme level of gaslighting, pimping. It
I've
happens
never
all the
heard
time in
it
the
put that
plantation,
way.
huh?
I've never heard it put
It
that
is
way.
it's gaslighting. It's at the extreme.
Yeah.
But here's the cold shot about that I had the recollection of. It's happening all the time to everybody who's not a prostitute or who don't think they're a prostitute of sex.
Yes.
Political parties,
Yeah.
sports teams.
Yeah.
It creates this polarity that I have to keep you at bay so we don't have to deal.
Mm-hmm. One of my teachers talks about it through like a capitalism
Yes.
lens and eats commerce.
Yes.
So I think the awareness that you're speaking about is just like the truth, like whatever the
Yeah.
truth is.
Yeah.
And if you're doing something to get something, it's
Yeah.
that commerce experience of
Yeah.
like, I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back. When the actual universe doesn't work that way.
Right. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive in that. We're going to
I
dive
love
deep
it.
into that. So it's 2 hours. It's going to be from 10 to noon on Saturday the 9th,
10 to noon Pacific.
Pacific time. Yes. You can go to www.beingjohnashford.com and you can sign up. Uh, I got some tools. And one of the reasons I want to do this is so a lot of the classes that I teach is my own self exploration and how I'm getting to where I'm getting. And I'm wanting to share this because I use the word consciousness or knowing a lot. And what it is, for me, it's the undescribable word that allows us to engage to greatness and oneness, true
Yeah.
oneness. And at first somebody would say, I had a question, like, John, why would you charge for this? Because it's a lesson. And there are going to be tools, and these tools, and here's the piece I'm gonna tell people. If you come to any of my classes, I'm not perfect. I use a lot of profanity. If you don't like profanity, I'm going to tell you I'm sorry in the beginning, but don't sign up because one of the things that I start to realize is that whatever comes up for me, I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be one of those classes that is one against another or trying to find fault because that's really part of this plantation,
Yeah.
trying to find the other.
Yeah.
As an African American male, I've I will say that I've been othered for a long time. But if I stay in that
Mm.
space, then it's actually holding in place the plantation living.
Okay, we need to talk more about being othered in the future.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Man, I had a question, but that thought made my question go away.
What was the
It
question
might
now?
come back. I don't know. It might come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Oh, so I want to say, not so much a question. I want to say, like, what I love about the way both of us teach and facilitate
Yes.
is that it is real.
Yeah.
And, all right, John cusses a lot. If you don't like a Samuel L. Jackson movie, don't come to a
Right.
John class.
Yeah. Yes.
And I needed that. Like, I'm going through something. I have all of this support because my friends are amazing. And I have one person telling me one thing, and I get on the phone with John, and there's like a string of expletives out of his mouth. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can do this now.
And here's the piece for me, because I don't ever I don't ever want somebody to make me their source.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is that I'm gonna share more of this in class. You are the source to your
Mm-hmm.
solution. We can tackle it together and create something different.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I watch people create people and they create them to be on a pedestal. I'm not the
Yes.
one. I'm the cool, nice, evil, beautiful, ugly motherfucker that you're gonna ever find will heal your ass.
Yeah.
That's who I be. And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be anything different but that. And I'm not trying to sell a persona. I just realized that in my body, when I see people start to create that, well, I ask questions because I don't know your body and your being as well as you do.
Mm-hmm.
In the process of asking questions, things pop up and then change can happen.
Yes.
That's in a nutshell.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, guys, unfortunately, I got to get to work. I got to jump on another computer and get to work and start work. But this is another invitation. This today, and thank you, Lila, for inviting me to this space. But I really, and we're going to do more of these. I just
Yeah.
feel this now. I got a bunch of ideas. But
Yeah.
one of the things that, yeah, if you're looking, if you have any concerns or any things coming up about being on a plantation, the plantation, some things I talked about, then come to this class. I have a bunch of tools, some clearings, and I'll explain all that during the class that might make you have a lot more enjoyment in living. And you don't have to be on edge. The other piece about this, I found myself in the plantation always feeling like I'm suffering or struggling. And I was like, this has to change.
Mm. Yeah.
And are you tired of being on the plantation? And this is an invitation. This is the Underground Railroad to get off that fucking plantation.
I love it. I love it. That is perfection.
Yes. So I'm gonna get off of here. I see you beautiful people. Hopefully some of you beautiful people on Saturday, 10 to noon, PST, Pacific time zone. I can't even think this morning. And yes, what will we create together?
So great.
Love you, sister.
Love you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.